Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo here on The King in Giallo. We are continuing our coverage for the fourth giallo film from Silvio Amadio, Smile Before Death, released on May 4th, 1972. In this video, I will give you a condensed version of the full-length overview video, covering only the cast and crew and the plot of the movie. Then I'll transition into the GialliTally. The GialliTally will contain heavy spoilers. Here is Smile Before Death Overview. Smile Before Death, or Il sorriso della iena, translated literally as Smile of the Hyena, is an Italian production directed by Silvio Amadio, who also co-wrote the film along with Francesco Villa. Music is composed by Roberto Pregadio, billed as Bob Dearmont. The cast is comprised of Jenny Tamburi, billed as Luciana della Robbia as Nancy Thompson, Silvano Tranquilli as Marco, Rosalba Neri as Gianna, and Hiram Keller as Paolo. The plot of the movie follows Nancy, who goes to visit her mother Dorothy, hoping to potentially reconcile their estranged relationship. When she arrives, she discovers that her mother has, according to the police investigation, slashed her own throat after locking herself in the bedroom. Immediately, Nancy meets her stepfather Marco's longtime mistress, Gianna, a photographer. Nancy, as well as the maid Magda, refuse to believe the official police narrative and suspect the couple of foul play. Nancy then endeavors to find out all she can from the two of them using her charms while trying to play the two against one another. But I digress. On to the GialliTally. Spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't yet seen the film. You've been warned. My prediction for the movie's GialliTally score. I completely forgot to give a prediction, so I will do it now. I predict around 500 to 600 points. Well, let's begin the GialliTally portion of the video. Beginning, as always, with the previewing cliches. The repeat offenders are 1 point for actor, 3 for writer, 3 for composer, and 5 for director. Silvano Tranquilli was in The Cat in Heat, The Blood-Stained Butterfly, The Double, and The Black Belly of the Tarantula, 4 points. Rosalba Neri was in Amok, Slaughter Hotel, and Top Sensation, 3 points. Ghia was in My Dear Killer and The Blood-Stained Butterfly, 2 points. Luigi Antonio Guerra was in at least 3 giallo films before this, all as extras or minor speaking roles. I'm not going to give points for these, but I want to acknowledge his contributions to giallo cinema nonetheless. Silvio Amadio wrote Amok, No Man's Island, and Assassination in Rome, 9 points. Roberto Pregadio composed for No Man's Island, 3 points. And Silvio Amadio directed Amok, No Man's Island, and Assassination in Rome, 15 points. Cliché points for the title. Smile Before Death contains the word death, 5 points. First look, 25 points for the Italian director, and 15 points for the movie releasing during the golden age of giallo cinema. And would you look at that, it is plot o'clock. It's not a giallo unless the movie kicks off like someone forgot the first reel. Cold open, 5 points. Smile Before Death, more like die before credits. No, okay. The woman here collapses to the ground with her throat cut. Immediately, we cut to a brief investigation in which the death is ruled out as a suicide. Police claim she did the job with a shard of glass, plus she was drinking heavily, and the door was locked from the inside. Now we get the opening credits, accompanied by one of the most annoying themes in giallo. Urban locales, 2 points. Italian locales, Rome, 3 points. First-person POV, 5 points. I feel like these city shots are Silvio Amadio saying to himself working on Assassination in Rome, see, this is how it's done. The trick, apparently, is to do it during the credits. As the car pulls up, we have a near collision outside the gate. Reckless driving, 5 points. This is Gianna, played by Rosalba Neri. Art featured, statues, photography, and, spoiler, modeling. Extra points for art being central to the plot, 10 points. Z is for Zoom, 5 points. This is Nancy, played by Jenny Tamburi. Gianna questions Nancy why she didn't inform them of her arrival, but she says that she did. More questions reveal that Nancy is the daughter of the deceased's second husband, and Gianna here was her best friend. She has lived here ever since she was given a cottage as her studio. Exposition dumping, 2 points. We learn that Nancy only ever saw her mother less than a dozen times in her life because she was in and out of boarding school. Gianna notices something amiss and calls in Magda, the maid. She asks what happened to Dorothy's photos, but Magda has no idea. Perhaps the police took them. Among those photos were some of Nancy when she was younger. F is for fashion, 5 points. Gianna encourages Nancy to try on some of her mother's things and invites her to undress in front of her. Not a red flag at all. N is for nudity, 5 points. There is some clear interest on Gianna's part towards Nancy. We briefly see Magda with what appears to be the missing photographs as she suddenly discovers a newspaper clipping accompanied by a music stinger for dramatic effect. T is for telephone, 5 points. Gianna tells Marco, the former husband of the deceased, that his stepdaughter has just arrived, but she's not as young as he had thought she was. He recalls that she must be 13 or 14, but Gianna claims that she's at least 16 or 17. Gianna follows it up by saying that he will only be the administrator of her estate until she comes of age, which is very soon. That night, Nancy pretends to be asleep when she hears footsteps approaching her room. Close up on a door handle, 5 points. The person leaves, and we see it is Magda. The next day, Nancy goes into Gianna's studio and asks her why she thought her mother ended her life. Q is for questions, 5 points. Gianna says Dorothy seemed distant and would behave evasively when asked if anything was the matter. She was drinking and mixing pills as well, and Gianna asserts that she hadn't seen her for days beforehand. The scene transitions into a photo shoot in which Gianna trains Nancy to hone her natural photogenics. The theme music comes back to let us know that there's something playful occurring. Extra points for F is for fashion, for the characters working in fashion. 5 more points. Working, modeling, this is what I count as extra points. The montage ends with another suggestive moment. We cut to Gianna in the lab. The photo in solution reveals Dorothy. Gianna hears footsteps walking away from the studio. Marco arrives home, played by Silvano Tranquilli, and notices the car with its hazard lights flashing and his wife's hat inside. In Gianna's studio, dozens of the same photo of Dorothy are hanging. In the house, Marco catches a glimpse of a woman ascending the stairs. He follows her and finds Nancy, nude. G is for gloves, 5 points. In a brief scene, Marco relays to Gianna something about him having trouble with what he was trying to do because of being in the middle of a failing marriage. The phone rings, Nancy splits, and Marco answers it, but there is no one there. Cut to them at a race course. Animals featured, horse, 2 points. It is decided that Nancy will live at the villa with Marco and Gianna. Cut again to Marco and Nancy on a boat, but they're not alone. The theme is there as well. Immediately, we see that Marco also seems to have an interest in his stepdaughter. This really feels like a Lenzi giallo. Gianna meets them at a restaurant and warns them to be careful when they go sailing later because it's dangerous. Well, back on a sailboat now, Marco, Nancy, and the theme music are being watched by someone whose face is covered by spyglasses. Suddenly, Nancy is knocked into the water. Marco dives in, but doesn't help her. 2 good Samaritans on the shore hop into their speedboat and race over to help. One dives in after Nancy as the other pulls Marco into the boat. Later, Gianna looks after Nancy, who is in bed resting. Gianna puts some drops in her water, says it is a tranquilizer prescribed by the doctor, and has Nancy drink it. Character takes sedatives, 5 points. On the way out, Nancy asks Gianna if someone else saved her, not Marco, and Gianna says that he did everything he could. Nancy says she had a dream in which Marco laughed as she drowned. The next day, Nancy finds something and takes it up to her room to read in private. Mirror being used beyond its natural purpose, 2 points. We cut to a flashback of Magda discovering Dorothy's body. Magda tells Nancy that she never believed the official police ruling. She says she went to Nancy's room one night to tell her, but had second thoughts. Magda says that Dorothy was a happy woman. She says that the night of the death, the house was having a party. In another flashback, we watch as Marco walks through the house, seemingly annoyed. Gratuitous 1970s dancing, 2 points. Fun fact, the blonde here is Barbara Boucher, uncredited. Marco finds Gianna, who asks him how it went. He says the bank couldn't do much because they need Dorothy's signature too. Upstairs, Marco walks in on Dorothy and her much younger lover. I is for infidelity, 5 points. We learn that the two have had an open arrangement in their marriage where they could each hook up with whoever they wanted. Marco tells Dorothy that she must help him out of his real estate problem, but she refuses. He reminds her that they agreed to each retain their own freedom in this marriage, but she is still his wife and she has a duty to help him out of this. But she responds aggressively, saying that she is finished. She calls him a penniless Roman noble. Outside the door, Magda hears Dorothy yell that she wants a divorce. Y is for yelling. Extra points for a hysterical woman yelling. 10 points. Magda says that Dorothy was madly in love with that younger man. Lastly, she says she adored Dorothy and Dorothy was always good to her. Marco and Nancy are out for a joyride now, but don't worry, they remembered to bring the theme music with them.
Of course not. Speeding's exciting.
Now I can really see the similarities to the 2001 Honda commercial. During the ride, Nancy puts her hand on Marco's leg. In the city now, Nancy gets out and hops in another car, saying she wants to tour Rome alone. She arrives outside this store and goes in. Later, Gianna finds Marco and Nancy in a rather intimate moment involving a massage and tickling. We cut to Gianna in her studio as an intoxicated Marco and Nancy stumble in. They sit down and replenish their drinks. They are viewing Nancy's photos from the shoot earlier. Nancy claims Gianna did not capture her true personality. The theme music agrees. Nancy acts charming, which wins over the previously grumpy Gianna. Suddenly, Nancy shuts the whole thing down and orders that Gianna must take new photos of her this instance. She asks Marco to put on mood music, and what do you think he puts on? Well, you're wrong. He puts on a different song. They conduct a new photo shoot. Marco at first is a good hype man, but then he says that that's enough and that Nancy should be in bed, and in response she dials up the Lolita vibes to 11. She then inexplicably becomes embarrassed and runs out of the studio. I don't know. We follow Nancy walking away from the cottage, but then stopping and returning to the studio downstairs. Inside, she sees Marco undressing Gianna, and they lie down. Later, Gianna is looking over the recent photos. She leaves the room just as Nancy enters. Nancy notices a revolver. She then undresses just before Gianna re-enters. Gianna rejects Nancy's offer to photograph her body, calling her out for playing these little games and reproaching her that the model doesn't decide when the shoot is. The photographer does. She orders Nancy to put her clothes back on. Nancy asks why Gianna is treating her as if they are enemies, but Gianna responds, "Aren't we?" Nancy plays coy and moves in, saying that Gianna is like the mother she never had, who helped her find her true personality. She leans in to kiss Gianna, then leaves. Gianna calls her back. We have another photo shoot, more sultry this time. After the shoot, Gianna kisses Nancy's forehead and covers her up in a protector sort of way. I actually do like this because Rosalba Neri was a similar character in Amok, and this is kind of like the same character but showing way more restraint. I like how Gianna shows the restraint. That night, Nancy looks at the drops which Gianna was giving her and hatches a plan. She is on the floor outside Marco's door, who carries her into bed. She tells him she's been taking special drops nightly as per Gianna's orders, but they make her feel so faint. He tries to relax her. Marco goes upstairs and checks the tincture bottle, smelling the contents. He returns to Nancy, who claims her spell has passed, but Marco insists that she remain here and he will sleep somewhere else. Nancy asks, "With Gianna?" He asks what she means by that. She asks him if he ever loved her mother. Marco admits that he didn't love her, but perhaps once did. Nancy admits that she also did not love her mother because she was a stranger to her. She invites him to sit, he does, and she begs him not to go away, and he doesn't. The two get hot and heavy, necking 5 points. The next day, the phone rings and Nancy answers it. She is listening to someone, but hangs up once Marco enters. She says it was someone with the wrong number, then asks if he regrets last night. He asks why should he, and she says that she supposes that Gianna is more woman than she is. He says not to be silly, and she gets offended, reminding him that she still has some growing up to do. Gianna enters. She tells Marco that Nancy is a girl who knows how to get people to like her, and one must hate a person in order to kill them. Marco says they must play it cool, or one false move could reopen the entire investigation. He says to leave things to him. Gianna says the police do not have any evidence on the two of them, and Marco corrects her, saying they don't on him. We cut back to the party the night of the death. Marco leaves with another woman as Gianna watches on. Gianna then walks into Dorothy's room, and the two talk. I guess Gianna was lying about having not seen Dorothy in days. L is for lies, 5 points. Dorothy asks Gianna if she was already Marco's mistress before she moved into the cottage, and Gianna admits so. Dorothy blows it off and commands Gianna to pour her a new drink. Just then, the glass shatters on the ground, and Dorothy orders Gianna to clean it up. Gianna asks about Dorothy's young lover, Paolo, and Dorothy says that she absolutely loves him. Gianna holds a shard of glass and closes in. She slices Dorothy's throat, and we are right where we started. Gianna stages the murder to appear as though Dorothy did it herself. A murder is faked as a suicide. 7 points. We then watch as Gianna locks the door from the outside using some twine. Genius. This is actually really cool. Gianna admits to the murder, but claims that Marco is as responsible himself. Marco says he will take care of Nancy, though he's unsure how as of now. He says they mustn't rush things. Later, in her studio, Gianna is nearly electrocuted. She collapses and is pulled out by the servant, Giorgio. She dismisses him, saying the whole thing was her own fault. Once alone, Gianna investigates, and it appears that sabotage might have been conducted. We watch Magda as she flips through Dorothy's old photo book and finds something curious, though we can't see what. Gianna confronts Marco about the circuit breaker, but he seems genuinely dumbfounded by what the thing is. He says he'll buy her a new one while he's out if that's what she wants. Nancy hops in the car. The two are now back at the race course. Nancy disappears to place a bet, and Marco goes to look for her. He eventually finds her back in the stands waiting for him. She flirts with him, calling him a jealous Latin lover, but that she likes it. Why not? For the use of a stereotype, let's add X is for xenophobia, 5 points. Look, y'all, I understand that it's not like totally xenophobia, but it's a stereotype, whatever. Back at, I guess, Marco's cottage? I'm honestly not sure where this is. Nancy continues to be flirtatious, saying she wants to know everything about Marco and that they must not keep any secrets from each other. She asks to shower. Marco takes this opportunity to peruse through her bag, all while that earworm continues to play. Inside, he finds a note with a phone number. Odd clue, 5 points. Marco dials the number, and a man's voice picks up. It's a business called Doll's House. Nancy comes out and tells Marco that he must leave Gianna because Nancy doesn't want to share him with anybody. The two get down. Nancy then arrives at Gianna's cottage and breaks into hysterics, claiming that Marco tried to assault her. She's very vague, but the venom has already seeped into Gianna. Later, Marco notices Magda going upstairs. Gianna looks at nude photos of Nancy. She seems absolutely smitten. Giorgio, the butler, tells Nancy that he will be gone for the next day and leaves. As Nancy goes to walk inside, an unseen person watches her, takes aim with a pistol, and fires. Gianna hears the gunshot and comes at once. She brings Nancy in and lies her down on the couch, but Nancy has fainted and is unresponsive. Outside, Gianna sees the pistol. Extra points for Z is for a zoom on a weapon. Another 5 points. The gun is hers. When asked, Magda says she was in the kitchen when she heard the shot fired. Nancy tells Gianna that she fears it is Marco and that she has proof that he is a killer. She says that the proof is a letter written by Dorothy in the days before her death, and in it she expressed being happy but wishing for a divorce from Marco. Nancy says that no one else believes it was suicide, but Gianna insists it was what the police had decided. Nancy asks to stay with Gianna. Gianna is once again admiring the nude photos of Nancy. J is for J&B, 5 points. Technically, we did see a bottle earlier, but the label was hidden. Gianna sits with Nancy and admires her. Nancy leans in and goes to kiss Gianna, who pulls back at first, but gives in. Queer characters, bi or lesbian, 5 points. We cut to Gianna and Marco frantically searching for the note Nancy spoke of. Gianna suddenly finds exactly where it is. I always love it when the movie does that. Like, maybe it's in this book right here on this page. Oh, I found it. Marco realizes how deep Dorothy's hate must have been, for this note is highly incriminating. Gianna says it is time to act now. Nancy overhears someone walking outside. Gianna instructs Marco on how to lock the doors from the outside. Magda is summoned up to Gianna's room. K is for knives. Extra points for the blade reflecting the light. 10 points. Magda sees Gianna with her things, but Marco attacks her from behind, stabbing her repeatedly. Marco recoils at what he has done, forcing Gianna to finish the murder. She beats Magda to death with a paperweight. We watch Nancy walk around the house. She stops and peers out as if looking for someone. She continues just as an unseen person appears. Nancy searches for Magda. The room is a mess. The phone is out of service and the door is locked. The sound of running water draws Nancy into a room where she finds blood and dirt in the sink. The other door is locked, but Nancy breaks the window by tossing an object through it. Outside, she notices a grave dug. Nancy then finds the corpse of Magda. Marco enters and tells her that Magda tried to know too much. He locks all the doors and says that Magda was alone in the world and will not be missed. Next, Marco burns the letter in front of Nancy. Evidence seen being destroyed, 5 points. Gianna enters from behind, cornered. Nancy is told that her murder will be painless and made to look like a suicide as well. She faints. Gianna offers Marco a drink, then binds Nancy's legs and tells Marco to get everything ready. Marco sets up the garage, but feels a little faint. He recalls the drink Gianna gave him. As Marco continues to set up, we see the unknown person entering the garage and hiding an audio tape recorder. Audio recording device, 5 points. Marco sets the machine's exhaust to be pumped through the vent into the garage. He locks the garage door, but we see a wedge being placed on the opposite side. Marco turns on both cars' motors, but sees Gianna locking him in. Gianna has a flashback of her and Nancy in an intimate moment. Marco attempts to flee out the garage, but the wedge prevents his escape. He turns off both cars, but the exhaust being pumped in continues. As Marco chokes on the fumes, he foolishly confesses to the murders they committed and begs for her to spare his life, while the two women ignore his pleas for help. Extra points for Q is for questions being yelled. 5 more points. He collapses. Betrayal by the killer, 5 points. Our favorite theme returns as Gianna tells Nancy that she performed perfectly, but Nancy states that she didn't expect Magda to die. However, Gianna claims that was Marco's doing and she knew nothing of it. Gianna says now Nancy is safe and her mother's murderer is dead. She will bury Marco and then the two can run off together. But Nancy tells Gianna to get her paws off of her, and then we hear a man laughing. In walks Paolo, Dorothy's young lover, holding the tape recorder. He says he knew that she had killed Dorothy. Nancy then says that her name is Mirella, and Paolo says that she's his girl and always has been. In a flashback, we see that Paolo is the owner of the doll shop, and Mirella worked as a sex worker, robbing clients as a plus. Not only that, but the theme has changed up and now features a man's laughing. That change-up makes everything worth it. I honestly think so. Mirella presents a letter and tells Gianna that the real Nancy is on her way today and should be arriving at the airport soon. Paolo says he pulled Marco half dead from the garage, all so the young couple here could blackmail him. Paolo plays back the tape with the confession and states that he orchestrated everything. The poison drops, the pistol shot, and the electric shock. Marco is instructed to write a check, and Paolo tells him that he will receive the tape once the check is cashed. The young couple exits triumphantly in a motorcycle and a sidecar. They leave the gate, turn the corner, and get into a violent car accident. The couple lie dead on the pavement as the tape recorder plays, and the real Nancy steps out of the car. What a genius ending and a comeuppance which was brilliantly set up in the movie. Both the fact that the entrance was a blind spot and that Nancy was arriving soon. Also, we finally see the real Nancy, and she is clearly younger, which matches with what Marco had thought, and it explains the concern on Magda's face earlier when she was perusing through Dorothy's old photo album. Obviously, she saw pictures of the real Nancy and was like, wait, who's this girl then? Let's add up some final cliches. Extra points for T is for telephone, for the killer making a call, 5 more points. S is for secrets, extra points for the killer having an impossible to predict motivation, 10 points. And O is for obsession, extra points for the killer being obsessed, 10 points. I almost did not add this one, but I decided that Gianna must be obsessed with Nancy, or Mirella, in order to double-cross Marco. And then initially, I was not going to add these next cliches because they don't exactly follow the rules I had laid out, but I decided to grant them. And those are: hidden identity of the killer until the final moments, 5 points. Killer's identity is hidden due to the framing and editing, 2 points. The killer dies accidentally, 5 points. And the killer is hilariously punished in their own death scene, 12 points. I know that Paolo and Mirella are not killers technically, but the way that everything is revealed in the end, that they are orchestrating this blackmail, I decided, okay, I'm gonna amend that just a little bit. And that's Smile Before Death. I talked way more extensively in my unscripted review for Smile Before Death, but what can I say? I really enjoyed this movie. I was not expecting to like this movie as much as I did, and that might be because I went in not knowing anything about it. I'd heard that it was as good as Amok, maybe a little less, maybe a little better, depending on, your feelings, but I really enjoyed this movie. Sure, going through it again, you notice that some things kind of happen out of convenience in order for the plot to move along. Like why did he confess in the garage? Like, how could you have known that he was going to do that? Little things like that, little nitpicks, but beyond that, it's a really good script, and I do really like this movie. Let's segue to the GialliTally cliches for this movie. Post-Giallo viewing cliches. The reason for the killing: greed and gain, 5 points. The reason for the investigation: none, honestly. But I will grant bonus points for Mirella and Paolo being amateur investigators, however. 5 points. Bonus points. The style bonus. The movie feels like an Umberto Lenzi type proto-giallo, minus most of the stylish flair that he always uses. There is some style still present, but not as much as many other giallo films of the time. We have some zoom-ins and zoom-outs, a couple POVs, some colored lights, although that's in a photography lab, and some great mirror shots. Out of a maximum of 25 points, I will give Smile Before Death 12 points for its style bonus. Soundtrack. Yes, 15 points. Bad effects, none, no points. Final look, extra points. The Deadpool, tallying how many kills and deaths are featured in the film. I break it down as thus: 10 points per kill or death scene for the main Deadpool, plus any stylistic kill multipliers, which we didn't add yet, plus the knife kill bonus. We have Dorothy Emerson, throat slit, 17 points. Magda, impaled with a knife and bludgeoned to death. I'll give the knife kill bonus, but I'll count the bludgeon versus the impaling. 20 points. Paolo and Mirella, vehicular, 9 plus 9, 18 points. Red herrings for the total number of legitimate suspects in the film. 5 points per legit suspect are awarded. We have Gianna, Marco, Magda, Giorgio, Nancy, aka Mirella, and Paolo. Basically every character. 30 points for red herrings. I will say this, if you're paying attention, there is a lot of suspicious stuff surrounding Nancy, who we find out later is Mirella. I did not predict it, but it's certainly there. I did, however, know. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew Paolo was going to come back. And so normally I would have just said, no, he's not suspicious. He's not a red herring, but something about the way he was set up and the way they kept referencing how Dorothy was madly in love with him. I had a feeling that he wasn't just going to appear on the bed smoking a cigarette and that would be that. Flashback sequences, 5 points each. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 30 points for flashbacks. Nudity, I award 5 points for ass, 7 for breasts, and 10 for genitalia. We have breasts, ass and breasts, 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 ass and breasts, 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 breasts then ass, breasts, ass and breasts, ass and breasts, breasts, and breasts. 116 points for nudity. Ladies and gentlemen, for Smile Before Death, I awarded the film an AZ score of 14 out of 26. With the bonus points for these, we have a modified score total of 110 points. And for the full GialliTally score, I award Smile Before Death a GialliTally score of 568 points. Compared to Short Night of Glass Dolls in first with 969 points, What Have You Done to Solange in second with 933 points, and The Case of the Bloody Iris in third with 830 points, Smile Before Death is in 24th place with 568 points. I predicted around 500 to 600 points, and I was right in the ballpark. Sure, I gave myself some extra wiggle room, but I knew the total wasn't going to be too high. But like I say, these points do not mean a movie is better or worse. Please like this video, share it with your friends if they are horror fans or cinephiles, subscribe to The King in Giallo if you haven't yet, and if you have any questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns, leave those below in the comment section and I will get back to you. Give The King in Giallo a follow on Instagram and a like on Facebook. Subscribe to The King in Giallo Patreon to see early access to the YouTube videos, exclusive video series, and to generally support what I do. Next time on The King in Giallo will be the overview, review, and GialliTally 4, the second Giallo film directed by Aldo Lado, Who Saw Her Die. Thank you all very much for your continued support, and a special thank you to those of you who support me directly on Patreon. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
The pistol shot, the poison drops, the electric shock.